It's National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. Activists are campaigning for more funding and awareness of eating disorders, including bulimia and anorexia. I'm now joined by Rose Walters, an author who suffered from anorexia when she was younger. Hi Rose, thank you very much for joining me.
Hiya.
So first of all, do you want to talk me through then what suffering with anorexia was actually like then?
I always describe anorexia as it's almost like a demon in your head. So it's a voice in your head which sounds like your own voice, and at first you think it is, but slowly and surely you realise that it's not, and it's something that's quite dangerous. But it's almost too late then.
So people may have a reason why you've developed this disease and where it's come from. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, I think everyone has a different cause behind obviously their eating disorder. Generally it's something to do with pressure, it's perfectionism, it's obsession, so it's not always to do with image, as people sometimes mistakenly think it is, or feeling fat.
So what age were you then when you first started feeling like this?
I was 14, so I was quite young, but now obviously there's a lot of younger children and young adults, teenagers who are suffering from anorexia, so I think 14 was young at the time, but not so much now.
And at that stage you realised you had a problem, or was it somebody took you to the doctors? What happened?
I didn't realise I had a problem, which is usually the case.
Yeah.
It was my parents, but again I was at school, so it's very easy to hide what you're doing while you're at school. Then eventually when it comes to half term they can see you're emaciated, they can see you're hiding food, and then they took me to the doctors, and I think that does happen with a lot of other people as well. It's someone else that spots as an issue.
And at that age, did you have enough help, or could there have been more out there to help you?
I think there was less resources then than there are now, outside of usual conventional healthcare. I think the problem for me was that I had a bad experience, but now things are much better and there are things out there to help people.
So the bad experience, can you elaborate on that?
I just didn't have any help really I was admitted into hospital, but the people looking after me weren't really aware of how to deal with me properly to help me, so that was quite difficult for me. And obviously it made recovery a lot more difficult for me than it could have been. But again, there's more places now on specialist eating disorder units, so younger people with eating disorders hopefully are going to be provided for a lot better than I was.
Was it a long process then to overcome it, really?
Yeah, and obviously the reason for me saying that isn't to be negative. It's not easy to overcome anorexia, but it is possible, and it does take time, and you can have relapses even a little bit longer down the line once you feel like you've recovered. So yeah, it's quite a long process, but it is possible. So
you're fit, healthy, in remission now. So how did you overcome it essentially?
I didn't realise at the time how I'd overcome it, but looking back now I think it was a combination of having the support from my parents, because my parents were very important in my recovery, but also them understanding that it's a separate thing, so you have to treat the person with a lot of kindness, look after them, take care of them, make them feel like they're worth it, but at the same time you have got to be quite tough on the anorexia or the bulimia, depending on what it is.
So you've took this awful time in your life and you've turned it into a positive because you've written a book.
Yes.
So do you want to tell me what your book is about then?
Yeah, and Tough Cookie is the main book that I've written for anorexia, and that's for people with anorexia who are struggling and need support. But there are also another couple of books that are for professionals dealing with anorexia and for parents as well. So because they can be very important obviously in the recovery process.
So what's the content within? Each one's different. What kind of things do you include? Your own stories or?
Yeah, I use a lot of my own experience, a lot of things that helped me, because I think that's what sets them apart. It's very easy for a psychiatrist to write a book about anorexia. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I did have it, so I've got that understanding of it, because that's something I wanted when I was poorly myself, was someone to say, look, I've been there, it's okay, you can overcome it, and here's how, type thing.
If someone came up to you now and said, look, I'm struggling with an eating disorder, what advice would you give to them then?
I think it's about being positive, so it's about being able to ask for support and use that support, so whatever you have available to use it, and not be so hard on yourself, it feels impossible when you have an eating disorder, but it is possible to do that, and focusing on the things in your life that you enjoy and love, because ultimately that will help you to feel as though you want to get better, because you can't do those things when you have an eating disorder. It's impossible.
So it is Awareness Week. Often some people might shy away from talking about things.
Yeah.
Why do we need awareness, and people that suffer awareness then?
I think we need awareness. Obviously we need general awareness for people with eating disorders, but I think it's an awareness of how other people can help them and also how they can help themselves. So it's about saying to people, look, you can recover from anorexia or bulimia. There are resources out there that can help you, but also to people who don't have any understanding, this is what it is, this is how it affects someone, and this is how you can spot it, you know, if you do have a friend or a loved one who you're worried about.
And like we said, you've got over it. You can sometimes relapse, but you can go on to live a normal, happy life. I think some people may think this is all my life's going to be, but you're an example. That is correct, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's why I do what I do, because it's totally possible to recover and to live a normal, happy life, as you say.
That's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.